Hello, welcome to Port Misery, a GH podcast where I usually try to figure out why everyone in Port Charles is so miserable. Right now, I'm not. Hello, this is just me coming on to say, how's everyone doing? Also, thank you guys for, liking and subscribing. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, which is kind of crazy. Like, I just kind of threw this on YouTube because at first I was like, oh, I'm just never been on YouTube. Like I usually just was on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff like podcast stuff, right? And I didn't have images. It was just me talking. And I had my audience, like my set audience, and that was great. And they knew my shtick, and that was great. And then, I'm good friends with Tracy and Tanya from Sunday Shift. Shout out to Tracy and Tanya from Sunday Shift, the gold standard. And Tracy was like, yeah, you could just like throw it on YouTube. Like you could just put your logo up. You don't even need to, because people just like listen to it. Like they don't need to see anything. And then I was thinking like, well, I have all this editing equipment and I know how to edit videos. Like I can do something. And so I started doing something and it's been fun. And I like that I'm like growing because, soap communities, like we're a little small community. And so like 99 subscribers is like big, like, yay, like, thank you guys so much. And so this is like the almost at 100, like, maybe I'll post it when I get 100. Like this will be like, I got 100 subscribers. Here's like a little bonus video for when that happens. And so, I wanted to come on essentially and talk about the nicknames. And so, if you've been listening thus far, if you've been on this journey with me thus far, you have probably noticed that certain characters on this show are not referred to by their actual names. Now, this is for various reasons. Sometimes it is because I don't like your character. It is a personal choice. And this has nothing to do with the actor. I am not an actor. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I went to like a performing arts school. I played instruments. I didn't act. But like I have all the respect in the world for actors. So like this is never me coming for any actor. And I try to make things very clear that like even when it sound like because I think like a couple weeks ago I brought up something about Gio not believing his storyline. But I don't even think that that's me attacking him because how can you believe like a ridiculous storyline like you should be mad at Brooklyn and Dante when you shouldn't at this point, right? Like you're asking him to literally do the impossible. Like, and you won't give him motivation. You're just like, be mad. But about what? Like, these are all super reasonable things to not be mad at someone about, like, to just completely understand. And so he's doing the best he can. And I think that's more of a writing criticism. Like, just give him, like, have them, I guess like he had with Dante, like the whole party thing, like, oh, why did you do that? But at the end of the day, you don't really have a reason to be mad at this kid. And like, he's a good example because not since I've been on YouTube, but like prior to like if you go on like Apple Podcast or Spotify and you listen to not Port Misery because I did take a break, like a really long break from this podcast, but there is another podcast called the GH Report that I did with my friend Susie. We used to call Gio the violin boy wonder, to be honest. Like we did not say Geo. And so I have this is my own personal thing, right? It doesn't have to be your thing. It's just my thing. Is that like until you've been on this show for at least a year, I will not refer to you by your character's name. I will refer to you by a nickname that I choose for arbitrary reasons that describes who you are on the show and what you're doing. And so this is not for just specific characters, it is all characters. And so, like, I will go through some of them. Like, okay, perfect example, Horny DA. So this is the Horny DA. Here she is. Her name is Justine Turner, I think. And who is Justine Turner? Like, she just showed up. Who is she? But if I say the Horny DA, like that's what's stalking around Sunny, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You're not confused. right? You're like, oh, it's that lady. You know, like here's creepy council person. Here's creepy council person. Let's like hang out with Drew and like stalk Laura, be super rude to her all the time, trying to be mayor. He's the creepy council person. What's his name? Ezra Boyle, I think. I don't know. But like if I say creepy council person that doesn't want to fund libraries so Laura looks bad, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He's the creepy council person who gets like sex workers. Let's go to the sex worker. What's her name? Jacinda? Yeah, this is Jacinda. But like if I say random sex worker that Drew did body shots off of, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But if I say Jacinda, you might have to think about it. And so this is the whole point of the nickname system. It is not to diminish any of the actors on the show. In fact, some people never lost their nickname because now it's just a term of endearment. Like, this is Marshall Ashford, Hat Daddy. I'm not going to stop calling him Hat Daddy because it's a great nickname. It's an excellent nickname. I wish people on the show would call him Hat Daddy because it's a great nickname. We were so fun for coming up with it. Like, seriously, Hat Daddy. It's so funny. But, you know, I understand where people are like, okay, so like, let's talk about Pikeman or Brennan. Jack Brennan. Here he is. This Jack Brennan. I don't buy the first of all, if you've been on the GH journey since this character just showed up Australian like 2 years ago, like he showed up with the pikeman nonsense. And then all of a sudden he's the director of the WSB. Then he's in prison. Now he's like a regional manager of the WSB. And we just tried to pretend like pikeman didn't happen. They just threw Valentine in jail like he was pikeman. And because they want to do this like relationship with Carly. And they realized that, you know, dating a terrorist is not beneath Carly, to be honest. Like that is not a real thing to break them up. And so now you have this like Jocelyn's a spy thing because that is something that will break them up, which is fine. I'm not judging either way. I have no stakes in Carly and Jack Brennan, aka Pikeman. And I have been saying this entire time that I did not forget that he's Pikeman. I know that you're pikemen. I know that you were out here selling weapons to God knows who. You were trying to use Sonny's peers. You were like, you and Valentine were like messing with his medication. You never saw any fucking punishment for that. I didn't forget. And so you get to remain pikeman for this foreseeable future. I will forever call this man pikeman. Seriously. He's pikeman. Like, it's nothing to do with this actor. The actor's fine. I like the actor. And I like that he's a self guy who really wants to be on the show and he likes being on the show. And so it's nothing to do with him. And I think I'm pretty cool with Pikeman, to be honest. I'm back to calling him Pikeman. Like, I think it's super funny every time he cusses that French hoe out. Here's the French hoe. I don't even know. What was her name? Colette? Something, the Frenchest thing they could think of. That's her name. And who knows who is that? Who is she? But if I say the French hoe from the WSB, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Do you see? Do you see? Do you get what? Do you feel what I'm picking up? Do you like? Do you feel like? Are you picking up what I'm dropping down? Is what I'm saying. That like these nicknames are easier for me to describe what's happening because they just throw so many characters at us, and we already have so many characters on the show. Like when I did the tier list, people were like, you forgot this character and that character. And I'm like, I know, but there's so many, and we don't see enough of Mac for him to make it. Spinelli's not on the show enough for him to have shot Drew. Though that would be hilarious, to be honest. Like, here's another one, Dollar Tree Dex. Dollar Tree Dex. This is not a knock to this man. What's his name? Vaughn? I don't know what his last name is. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what his last name is. Like, I wish I knew. I feel bad about it. But there's no disrespect to this man. He's just trying to get a bag, right? He lives in LA. He's trying to pay his rent. He's trying to live his dreams. I'm not trying to come for this man's bag. What I'm saying is that this is kind of like the weird story that you gave Jocelyn with Dex, except now she's a spy. Instead of like keeping this man's secret allegiance to Michael a secret. You know, she's dating freaking he's working for Sunny while she's dating him, but then he's also working for Michael, trying to take Sunny down, and she knows about it. And you know, the weird Lante reboot they did, they're trying to like reheat Lante's nachos on that one, but like, you know, now she's essentially trying to take Sunny down with this man in the WSB, but she got to do a bunch of WSB shenanigans first. It's giving Dollar Tree Dex. Why couldn't Dex just be the WSB agent? And they're just in the WSB together, doing a little like young WSB agent shtick. But like I said, that's just like a criticism of like casting and writing and like decision makings behind the scene. Not this. This man doesn't have nothing to do with that. This man just getting a bag. Was he like he nothing personal to him? Like he just took a job. He's just doing his job. I'm just saying, it's Dollar Tree Dex. Like he'll if they keep him on the show, like if he stays on the show, eventually, and they give him a second name. If he has a second name, you could tell me in the comments. I'm not gonna look it up. I'm not gonna look it up. But if he has one, let me know. But if he stays on the show long enough, eventually I'll start calling him Vaughn. Cause I have no choice. I used to call Cody Bell. Here's Cody. I used to call him Stable Baby because he used to talk about how he lived with the horses at the Bell Mansion, and he had to live with like the Bells, but he was really old girl's son with Mac, even though it don't make no sense. Like he should have been like, okay. And so he just always talk about like growing up amongst the horses. So he was Stable Baby. It'd be like that. It's literally a joke. It's for fun. Another one that I do here is White East African Warlord. We met him in East Africa while he was being a warlord, and he's white in Africa, and it's funny. Like, this is all in jest. It is all in jest. I promise. And if it annoys you, you know, like if this is not the channel for you, I get it. I get it. But it's honestly like I'm just so used to doing it. I wouldn't know how to turn it off at this point. Latino Sun. Because I loved it. It was so crazy where all of a sudden homophobe Maria Santos, she never earned her name. I do not care about what her name is. Was it Natalia Ramirez? But none of her kids had the same last name as her. Make it make sense. But like she all of a sudden was like married to this white East African warlord. And so now he got this Latino son who's also a part of the LGBT community, where she already had this storyline with Blaze and Christine. It was just too it was too much. It was too much. And I like Sidwell and Marco. I like these characters. I want them to stay longer. I don't know how long. I think Marco is more of a salvageable character than Sidwell. I'll say that, right? Because like it depends on how evil they want to take him. Do they want to have him go more like Lorenzo Alcazar? You could be on this show for a little bit because you kind of give him the same energy as Sunny, or do you go full Anthony Zakara and you doing crazy shit and you acting crazy, and so now we got to get you on your Manny Ruiz kick, and so we got to get rid of you like Faith Roscoe and shit. Like, where are they gonna take him? Is he gonna have more time like Julian Jerome? Or do we gotta get him got, you know, like Claudia Zakara? I'm not sure. I don't know what journey, what path he's on. And so that was my long-winded way of kind of explaining the nickname situation. I'm gonna keep using them. I'm gonna keep using them. If someone makes a compelling enough argument against a nickname, like here is why you should not call him Latino Son, because I think though that is probably the one that I'm like, I don't want Latinx people to feel a certain way, or like I'm typecasting him in some type of way. I really like Marco. I love him. And I like that he's in this really precarious I want to get Sunny, and I know that that's actually a moral path because Sunny's a criminal, but I have to do immoral things to do that. And so at what point do I become what I'm fighting? I think that's a really compelling story, and having Lucas in the middle of that with Carly is really great. And so that would probably be the one that I side eye the most. I don't even really side eye White East African Warlord, because why y'all do that? Why you have him be like mustache twirlingly evil, having like, this is my friend, I think Jen's joke. She said that he had Lucky chained to a table for like 40 days and 40 nights. Like, how you have him come in like that? He tried to kill Jason, Anna, Lucky, Isaiah. Isaiah was a attractive biracial doctor until like last week, to be honest. Same with Kai. He was a disloyal ex-football player. But like White East African Warlord, he was trying to kill like 5 people on the cast, and now we got to pretend like he's a better option for Port Charles and Sunny. Like, what are we talking about? And now we just found out that he's probably in the DBX. And so he's gonna stay White East African Warlord because that's what he is. He's like a cartoon character from the 40s. He's like, if you put like, Yosemite Sam in fucking Nairobi, that's who White East African Warlord is now. Like, he's just doing outlandish shit, which is great. It's great for soap shit, right? It's very entertaining on that end. But I think that on the long term, like, show perspective, Marco is a more salvageable character. And so, like I said, y'all let me know what you think. That's just my little explanation, because obviously I haven't been rocking with YouTube as long as I've been rocking with like Spotify and Apple Music. On Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. What am I talking about? I'm not Beyonce. But I just wanted to come in and say that, because it's not been a lot of comments, it's been a couple, but it's enough for me to feel like, let me address this, because I don't want anyone to be offended. Or maybe like if I explain myself, then you kind of get where I'm coming from, and we can kind of have a dialogue from there. But yeah, that's what I got. Once again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for listening. I'm glad to have 100 subscribers on YouTube. Like I said, it's a lot to me, and I appreciate every single one of y'all. I love reading the comments. I try to like all of them, or respond. Some of y'all just sort of say stuff. It's like I could be like, yes, but I like to just like it. Like, yes, I like that. But I try to look at all of them. But once again, thank you so much. And I will see y'all on Sunday as usual. All right, bye y'all.